Welcome to Auto Mundial, the weekly car news and review show where this week we're celebrating the new Ford Bronco finally going on sale.
The new Jaguar E-Pace faces off against rivals from BMW and Audi, and we preview Bentley's new plug-in limo.
We also have Citroen's latest C3 Aircross and an AMG-tuned crossover from Mercedes. That's all coming up. First though, the news.
Audi has begun testing its all-new Dakar rally car. Using technology from its Formula E races, the RSQ e-tron will be among the first electric cars to take on what many believe to be the toughest race on the planet. But while it may be chock full of Formula E batteries and motors, charging them in the middle of the desert will not be easy or fast. So it actually uses an onboard TFSI petrol engine from a DTM car, which instead of driving the wheels, acts as a generator. Audi engineers reckon the RSQ e-tron is good for around 670 brake horsepower, but it's still subject to whatever rules and regulations Dakar officials release before the event next year. It's safe to say, though, Audi is not sparing any expense. They've already got themselves an elite team of drivers, including three-time Dakar winner Carlos Sainz and 14-time Dakar winner Stefan Petter-Hansel.
The Bentley Flying Spur is one of our favourite fast luxury cars. It combines a beautiful luxurious cabin with shed loads of performance, courtesy of either a 6-litre W12 or a 4-litre V8 engine. Now though, Bentley's going green, and we're not talking about the paint job. This is the new Flying Spur Hybrid, Bentley's £160,000 electrified limousine. The big gas-guzzling W12 has been ditched in favour of a more frugal 2.9-litre V6. Of course then, it isn't as powerful as other versions of the Flying Spur, but thanks to a pair of turbochargers mounted within the V of the engine, it still puts out a healthy 410 brake horsepower. Add to the 130 or so horsepower electric motor, and you've got yourself a 536 bhp limo that can do 0 to 62 in 4.1 seconds onto a top speed of 177 miles per hour. Bentley's second plug-in hybrid, following on from the last-gen Bentayga, the electric motor sits in between the engine and the transmission, and Bentley claims the 14.1 kilowatt battery can help it to achieve 24 miles of electric-only driving on a charge. Visually, only a handful of hybrid badges mark this out as anything particularly unusual, and of course a charging flap for when you want to top up the battery from your complimentary Bentley-branded wall box. Inside, it's as fabulous as any other Flying Spur, with endless options and gadgets, making this one of the very finest hybrids on the market.
While there's currently no shortage of funky little crossovers on the market, we've always thought that one of the coolest was Citroen's funky little C3 Aircross. And now, for 2021, it's had something of a facelift. No longer the happy-looking bubble it once was, the new one looks rather angry, which Citroen says gives it a more assertive personality. Well, that's as maybe, but it's certainly striking. Design inspiration has clearly been taken from the new C4, but we're not quite sold on such a menacing face on a cute little high-riding hatchback. The two layers of front lights remain, though now much more angular, while the deeper front grille makes it look bigger and taller than before. Changes to the interior are minimal, with some new trim options and improved infotainment, but driver assistance has been improved. The Aircross now comes with automatic emergency braking, speed sign recognition, and headlights that can dip automatically. There are some more optional tech updates too, including a head-up display, top-down parking camera, as well as some trick off-road gizmos like hill descent control and selectable grip control to help make the most of the little Citroen's ground clearance. Despite its off-road credentials, however, the C3 is strictly two-wheel drive, with engine options in the UK limited to a 3-cylinder 1.2 petrol engine with either 108 or 128 brake horsepower, and a pair of diesel options with 108 and 118 bhp respectively. But as we know, this is a very crowded sector of the market, and it is not the only one with distinctive styling on its side. The Nissan Juke, for example, may be divisive, but it sells in huge numbers and has a loyal fan base. Then there are newcomers like the Skoda Kamiq. With much more conservative looks, it may not turn as many heads as a Citroen, but its low price and VW Group build quality mean it cannot be ignored. Ultimately, however, with so many crossovers for buyers to choose from, the C3 still stands out thanks to its spacious cabin, nippy engines, and its French design flair.
The Jaguar E-Pace is 5 years old now, and in a flooded segment of the market, it never really managed to make any significant holes in Audi or BMW's sales figures. Despite its smaller size, it was as heavy as its big brother, the F-Pace, and that translated to a lackluster driving experience with bags of understeer and body roll. Now though, there's a new one. And it's clear Jaguar has been working hard, as this isn't just a facelift. This is a car on an entirely new platform, which is significantly lighter than its predecessor. It's unusual for a manufacturer to switch to a new base midway through a car's life, but for Jaguar it was essential as it tries to attract more business customers. The 2021 model, therefore, has a number of interesting changes. Most notably a new plug-in hybrid variant. Alongside this, there has been a huge overhaul of the exterior. This includes redesigned bumpers front and rear, a new mesh grille, revised lighting and a range of 4 new wheel designs up to 21 inches. Inside, the new E-Pace features an uprated drive selector, a new steering wheel inspired by the I-Pace featuring metallic gear shift paddles, and behind that, a redesigned driver display panel. Under the bonnet, there is a wide range of 2-litre petrol and diesel offerings, ranging from 120 to 296 brake horsepower. A 6-speed manual is standard in the D165 and D200 engine configurations, while the rest of the range takes advantage of Jaguar's 9-speed auto. Prices start at £28,300, but for that you only get the basic D165 with its front-wheel drive and manual gearbox. So what else is on offer?
Well, Germany has a raft of class-leading small SUVs. BMW has the X1 and, like the E-Pace, it's just had a major refresh. This is good because the previous X1 was critiqued for its bad handling, bland interior and boxy looks. The new model is much better, with styling and dimensions now akin to an X3 rather than the 1 Series. It also has a raised ride height and a bigger body, which in turn creates more space inside and added practicality. Under the bonnet, there are petrol, diesel and plug-in hybrid models available. Like the Jag, the BMW PHEV pairs a 1.5-litre 3-cylinder engine with an electric motor, but produces 80 horsepower less than the JLR alternative. Having said that, you can drive up to 30 miles on electricity alone. So what about this then, the Audi Q3? Well, if practicality is what you want, the Q3 has it in spades. Its 530-litre boot is larger than that of the X1 and the E-Pace, and it's bigger inside the cabin as well. It is the most expensive of the three though, at £31,000, and a lot of kit you get as standard on the Jag and the X1 is optional. You can't argue with the quality though, which remains second to none.
So where does this leave us? The X1's most recent facelift has certainly helped its cause, but the Jaguar has more standard equipment, better interior materials, and is more powerful in every guise. Add to this its ability to tow up to 1.8 tons, and it's a great choice for any family.
Join us after the break as we check out an AMG Pocket Rocket and the new Ford Bronco. Still to come, the Ford Bronco, but first...
If you're after a small, fast SUV, there are currently plenty to choose from. There's the Ford Puma ST, the Audi SQ2, the Mini Countryman JCW. We could go on. And as much as we prefer hot hatchbacks, it seems there is a big market for these souped-up crossovers. And now there's a new one. This is the Mercedes-AMG GLA 35, and it follows a familiar recipe. Like the 300 horsepower 2-litre Mini Countryman, and the 300 horsepower 2-litre Audi SQ2, and the 300 horsepower 2-litre Volkswagen T-Roc R, the GLA gets, you guessed it, a 300 horsepower 2-litre engine, good for 0 to 62 miles per hour in 5.1 seconds. Nothing out of the ordinary there then. And the lack of surprises continues with a 4-wheel drive system borrowed from the A35 hot hatch, and an 8-speed automatic gearbox complemented by a series of driving modes ranging from normal to Sport Plus. And this being an AMG product, it gets some extra bits over the regular GLA. It gets AMG's signature Panamericana grille at the front, sitting above a wider intake in the bumper. 19-inch wheels come as standard, with these massive 21s an option that's probably best left alone. The interior is a cut above the rest in this class too, with top-spec cars getting their wonderful full-size infotainment screens and plenty of leather and aluminium. The 35 then is exactly what we were expecting. A well-appointed, quick crossover to rival the myriad of others in this class.
However, the 35 is not the only GLA that AMG has worked its magic on. This is the GLA 45S, and it makes all the other quick crossovers seem a little bit half-hearted. The body is festooned with aero bits like the canards on the front bumper and that less than subtle rear spoiler, helping it to stand out from the lesser 35 model. It also gets 4 chasmal tailpipes, a bigger splitter and diffuser, huge alloys and some bright red brake calipers. Inside, it gets some sporty carbon fibre trim and a pair of body-hugging seats. So it certainly looks the part then, but it's under the bonnet where the 45 really stands out. Again, it uses a turbocharged 2-litre, but this time it's been tuned all the way up to 415 brake horsepower, making this and the A45S hot hatch on which it's based the most powerful 4-cylinder cars you can buy. As a result of this insane amount of power, the little crossover launches itself from a standstill to 62 miles per hour in less than 4.5 seconds and onto a limited top speed of 155. However, all this performance does come at a cost. While cheaper versions will be available in certain markets, in the UK the GLA 45S starts at almost £59,000, with expensive options like the Aero package and big wheels, meaning you could spend well over 70 grand. That puts it in line with some much bigger competition, cars like the Alfa Romeo Stelvio Quadrifoglio and the Porsche Macan Turbo.
In conclusion then, the GLA 45S isn't a sensible purchase, especially when the regular A45 is cheaper and quicker. We do like it though, if only for its sheer daftness. The 35 though seems like a much better buy. It's still very fast, but it's much better value.
When we finally got to see the new Ford Bronco last year, we could barely believe our eyes. It looked even better than we were hoping, and it seemed like it could be a real rival to not only the Jeep Wrangler, but also the more premium Land Rover Defender. And now it's finally appearing in the showrooms as production is in full swing to satisfy the packed order books. So a year on, is it still as appealing? Well, while we never got it over here in Europe, over in America, Ford's rugged, boxy off-roader is a cult hero. The first generation car was launched way back in 1966, with another 4 generations selling strongly until production was ended in the 1990s. And straight away on the new one, it's clear where the design influences come from. Retro design can often be a bit love it or hate it, but we think it's fair to say that Ford has done a wonderful job of modernising the Bronco's classic lines and proportions. The result looks closest to the first-gen car of the 60s, with circular headlights and the Bronco script in the front grille. And this isn't just a concept, this is a production car, complete with a host of factory off-road extras like the superb brush wires and those mammoth 35-inch knobbly tyres. Underbody protection is available, as well as heavy-duty steel bumpers and LED light bars. Both short and long wheelbase versions are very much old-school 4x4s with prehistoric ladder frame chassis and solid rear axles for extra toughness. But that's not to say the Bronco is completely old-fashioned. Climb inside the cabin and everything is very modern indeed. The hosed-down upholstery and trim options may appear to have been lifted from a Texan clothing catalogue, but they certainly suit the car, while Ford's impressive Sync 4 infotainment system sits front and centre with either an 8 or 12-inch screen. It also gets a digital instrument cluster behind the steering wheel and all the modern amenities that we've become accustomed to. And there's some proper off-road tech for good measure. It has a special trail control system which acts as a low-speed cruise control, as well as sand, bahar, mud and rock crawl settings, plus the usual array of on-road models. There are numerous trim levels on offer, all with evocative names like Big Bend and Badlands, hammering home the Bronco's all-American heritage.
But after a 25-year production break, is the Bronco out of practice? Well, Jeep fans may think so, especially as this, the latest Wrangler, is the most accomplished version yet. Like the Bronco, it's available as a 2- or 4-door, but there's also a pickup version called the Gladiator. Naturally, the Wrangler is a born off-roader, available with a range of torquey engines, perfect for getting up any trail you point it at. In fact, Jeep announced a new flagship V8 engine at exactly the same time as Ford took the covers off the Bronco. Inside, it gets a superb blend of functionality and modern convenience. The dashboard is a lot busier than the Ford's, with buttons everywhere and a chunky central screen that adds to the air of ruggedness and dependability. What's more, unlike the Ford, the Jeep is available in Europe and in right-hand drive, although UK customers only get access to higher trim levels, starting at over £41,000. Stateside though, it's much cheaper, starting at just under $30,000, almost exactly the same as the Bronco.
The Ford may not be available with a V8 like the Jeep, but it does get either a 2.3-litre four-cylinder or a Meteor 2.7 V6 with 306 bhp, an enormous amount for a high-riding 4x4 with the same sort of chassis you'd find on an old lorry. Both engines can be paired with a 10-speed auto, while the four-cylinder car is also available with a 7-speed manual. Sadly, Ford says it does not have any plans to bring the Bronco models to Europe. However, as a cut-price Defender rival, we could see it doing very well indeed.
Join us again next week on Auto Mundial as we look at the gorgeous new Porsche 911 Targa.